She swam naked in the river. She climbed trees like a monkey. She ate with her hands and slept on the floor. The English nobility was obsessed. They painted her portrait. They organized balls. Oxford academics studied her strange language. For 10 weeks in 1817, Princess Caraboo was the sensation of England, until a laundress entered the mansion and said 7 words that destroyed everything. That one I know. That's Mary Baker. Almondsbury, England, April 1817. A woman appears staggering in the road wearing a black turban and an exotic red shirt. A shoemaker tries to help, but she only utters incomprehensible sounds. It's not English, French, or any known language. She points to herself and repeats a word.
Your arrogance will be your
Caraboo.
undoing.
Nobody has any idea what to do with this
arrogance.
stranger. They take her to Magistrates Samuel Worrell to be tried as a vagrant and imprisoned. But Mrs. Elizabeth Worrell, the magistrate's wife, notices something disturbing about that woman. She doesn't behave like an ordinary beggar. She refuses meat, obsessively washes her cup, sleeps on the floor refusing a comfortable bed. When she sees a pineapple drawn on the wall, she shouts, "Ananas!" Elizabeth freezes completely. That woman knows tropical fruits. The husband ignores her and has her imprisoned in Bristol jail anyway. Inside, she causes absolute chaos, screaming in that strange language, climbing the bars like a cat, refusing all food offered. The guards become so desperate that they beg the Worrells to take her back. It was then that fate introduced Manuel Anasoa, a Portuguese sailor passing through the city. Anaso listens to the prisoner speaking, and his eyes widen in utter shock. "I understand her," he declares with absolute conviction. "I can translate everything she says." What he reveals leaves everyone breathless. She is not a beggar. She is Princess Caraboo of Javasu Island, in the Indian Ocean, kidnapped by Malay pirates and held on a ship for weeks until she escaped by jumping into the sea. The news explodes like wildfire throughout Bristol and beyond. An exotic princess, lost in England. The Worrells take her back, but now as an honored guest in their mansion, Elizabeth becomes completely obsessed, wanting to know absolutely everything about Javasu and that distant, fascinating culture. And Caraboo delivers with impressive theatrical mastery, drawing an entire alphabet of curved symbols that nobody recognizes. She describes temples covered in pure gold, gods with multiple arms, and sacred fire rituals. Through Anaso, she recounts how she fled an arranged marriage to a cruel prince after being captured. She says her father is a king, her mother died in childbirth, and she grew up hunting in the rainforests. It's a story worthy of the best novels of the time, full of adventure, tragedy, and hope. All of England bites the bait with devastating force. Newspapers publish lengthy articles about the mysterious princess. Famous artists desperately asked to paint her. Bristol's high society competes fiercely to meet her in person. But Caraboo doesn't just tell stories, she performs with a conviction that defies all doubt. She swims naked in the river in the morning with graceful movements that simultaneously shock and fascinate. She uses a bow and arrow with deadly precision, hitting targets that trained English archers miss. She climbs trees barefoot with agility, impossible for a European lady. She prays to a god called Allah Ta'ala, always facing the rising sun, in an elaborate ritual. She eats only with her right hand, refuses wine altogether, prefers curry so strong it makes Englishmen cry. When she hears violin music, she dances in a hypnotic and fluid way, completely different from any European dance. Her movements are sensual yet dignified, exotic yet imperial. Every detail of the performance is meticulously consistent, as if she had truly lived that entire life in Java's. Academics go completely mad trying to decipher its mysterious language and exotic alphabet. Respected Oxford scholars visit Almondsbury specifically to analyze it for days. Experienced linguists obsessively compare its sounds with all known Asian languages of the time. Some swear under oath to recognize Malay roots. Others detect clear Chinese or even Arabic influence. The famous artist Edward Bird painted her official portrait with her posing majestically. Caraboo wears a turban, holds a bow, her posture perfectly imperial and worthy of true royalty. The painting was exhibited in important galleries in London and Bristol. Printed copies sold in droves. She became an instant national celebrity overnight. Mrs. Worrell throws a lavish ball in her honor, spending a fortune on exotic decorations, dukes, earls, and barons, the 10 people who would never pay attention to a small-town magistrate. Everyone desperately wants to see Caraboo, touch her hand, hear her mysterious voice in person. For 10 glorious weeks, she lives literally like a princess from an impossible fairy tale. Mrs. Worrell begins planning a grand trip to London where Caraboo would be introduced to high society, perhaps even to British royalty themselves. The king himself could meet her. Caraboo would have rooms in the palace. She would be the subject of conversation in all the noble salons of England. The sky seems to be the only limit for that exotic princess fallen from paradise. But then the unexpected happens, beginning to crumble the carefully constructed house of cards. During a casual stroll through Bristol's bustling market, Caraboo sees a man selling cheap combs. She freezes instantly, her face draining of color as if she'd seen a ghost from the past. The man looks at her, frowns in confusion, then his eyes widen. Mary Beggar. Caraboo turns and runs away desperately, but the damage is completely done. More people begin to recognize her in the streets, a woman from Bath, a merchant from Exeter, a laundress who works in the world's own mansion, finally confirms the impossible with a trembling voice. Sir, madam, ... This girl worked for me 2 years ago. She was a common maid in a boarding house in Exeter. Faced with mounting witnesses and irrefutable evidence, Caraboo finally breaks down completely. For the first time, she speaks perfect English without accent or hesitation. My name is Mary Beggar. Genuine tears stream down her face. I was born in Witheridge, Devon. My father is a poor shoemaker. Javasu never existed. I invented it all. Every word, every symbol, every elaborate detail of this giant hoax. The truth is simultaneously sad and fascinating in a way no one expected. Mary had an illegitimate daughter who died as a baby. The pain destroyed her inside. She wandered England, doing humiliating jobs, always poor, always invisible like a ghost, until she realized something revolutionary. If she pretended to be exotic and mysterious, everyone paid her reverent attention. So she studied obsessively, practiced archery for months, created a fake alphabet by mixing random symbols. The scandal that erupts is absolutely brutal and merciless for everyone involved. Newspapers that celebrated her now destroy her. The great imposter. Academics who studied her language are ridiculed as naive and gullible fools. Mrs. Worrell, publicly humiliated, should be furious and vengeful. But she does the unthinkable. She forgives Mary completely, pays for her passage to America, gives her money and clothes. Mary sails to Philadelphia, but cannot stop the addictive performance. For years, she performs as the famous Princess Caraboo in paid American theaters. The public pays dearly to see the woman who deceived all of England. She is selling the lie on the lie 19th century myth. Then she disappears from the records. But in 1864, a Mary Beggar dies in Bristol. A neighbor swore they heard her talking to herself in that strange invented language until the very end. Here is the final twist that retroactively changes everything. Mrs. Worrell's letters revealed that she always knew. Elizabeth saw through the deception from the beginning, but was so bored, so desperate for magic and adventure in her predictable life, that she consciously chose to believe. England fell not because Mary was an undetectable genius, but because everyone wanted it to be true. They preferred the beautiful lie to the ugly, uninteresting reality.